right? So if it turns out that, I don't know, let's say 0.1% of people who watch P ultimately decide to watch CP, or let's make it a bit more clean. 0.1% of people who watch P eventually become child predators, right? In that case, do you think P should be illegal? It turns out that's the fact, forgetting the religious side of it.
No, I don't. I don't look at it that way. You have to look at it as a holistic effect.
Proportionality is important. Like, we need to look at proportionality, right?
Yes, we do need to look at proportionality, but I think that I've laid out, particularly with the studies that I've laid out and with the arguments that I've laid out, there's enough of a holistic concern that we have with the outcomes of P, with the consequences of P, that it is worth making it illegal. Now, if you were to say that...
I think you brought up some, I think it's worth examining, but I think that making it illegal will make it worse. Approximately 40% of murders considered to be alcohol-related. So 40% of murders involve alcohol. That's a pretty significant part of murder. Let's see, what percent of kids in America are sold into...
Percent of kids?
How many kids? You're right. How many kids sold into... trying to pause this.
It's a good question by James. Do you want me to quickly answer that?
Yeah, sure. We can. I don't have.
Yeah. So James, he says, in the teaser clip you mentioned that P may have staved off a revolution. Is that sufficient reason to keep it legal as necessary sedative until the underlying degeneracy of male-female relations is resolved? That's actually, when I was having that conversation, I was talking about the best steelman that I can think of keeping it legal, and that was the fact that there's such a massive underclass of men who have no sexual access to women, and the only sexual access they get is online. Alex, what sort of an ethical framework are you using here?
I don't know the technical term for it. I never got super deep into formal logic, but when it comes to what should be legal or not, I just go off again. I look at it from two sides of it. Number one is what are the consequences? I look at it from a consequence-based perspective, and the other side I look at it from is balancing the public good versus individual freedom. So, for example, in theory, it would be nice if people could have bazookas, but the public, harm in that is that a lot of people could die, right? So that's why we would say no, bazookas or grenades should not be legal. I think it's kind of more dicey when you start talking about guns, because then but with P, it's pretty clear to me is that even if you become super addicted to P, you can only hurt yourself as a consumer. You're not going to hurt other people. Where would you then draw the line? For example, what about a girl who's just into BDSM? She just wants to be tied up, fully consensual. Is that immoral?
Is it immoral? Yes.
Okay. What about a girl that wants to have a threesome? She wants to bring her hot friend into bed.
Yes, immoral.
Okay, so you would never have a threesome?
I would never have a threesome? As in now onwards? Yes, I would not.
But you have before?
No comment. But like I said,
that's a yes. Yeah, you see, it just seems like every religious person has.
No. But you have to understand that people. I was an atheist until a few years ago, though. Like I said at the start, I used to think exactly like you. Whatever you think, I would have been exactly like you just a matter of just a few years ago. So I've done all of the bad.
Let's get you back.
You name it, and I've probably done it. And if you look at the consequence of P from a broad range of different consequences, when you're talking about early childhood development, when you're talking about the effects on the individual, when you're talking about neurological effects and the neuroplasticity of young people and of adults for that matter, when you're talking about the effects on the dating market and on the birth rates, when you're talking about the effects in terms of trafficking, when you're talking about the effects in terms of children being trafficked, when you're talking about, and then I also demonstrated with a bunch of different statistics that show that there is a serious correlation in terms, or if not causation, with how liberal societies are in terms of their view on sex work and how that's affected human trafficking. We've gone through a lot of different aspects today in terms of why it's damaging, purely from the consequential perspective. Okay. like you have to actually make a good argument for this, because you're just pretty much just saying the opposite of what I'm saying. So you're saying, let me finish. So I'm saying that the deregulation of the industry. Can you still hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not in favor of CP at all, anyway.
Okay, good.
But
I'm not trying to say that you are.
You have to separate P from CP. They're very different.
No. You can't separate those two, because this is the same thing.
You think no? They're not the same thing.
Yeah. So also, 86% of the people who are being sold into this, by the way, in the United States, are coming from the foster service as well. So there's a that's another thing. Anyways, when you look at the mind of a child, I mean, Alex just said to me, and I'm the same. We started watching around like 13 years old, like
we're not together, separately.
Yeah, but oftentimes, like that is the case, that people are watching at that age, even younger. I can imagine today kids are going to school and it's being shown. It's just so easy. If you've got an iPhone these days, you're literally one click away from just pulling it up on your phone, and all kinds of heinous things as well. So just in terms of early development, there are some severe neurological effects that it can have on young people. And a young man's brain is incredible. We'll use young men for now. A young man's brain is incredibly plastic. Like, a young man's brain absorbs this information and creates neural pathways to the point where they will lose their boundaries. They can have problems with erectile dysfunction by the time they're like 18, 19, 20. And this is the same thing, sort of concept as OF as well. I mean, they're so addicted to it that eventually they have to sort of seek out something new, which is like an actual connection where you're telling a female what to do, and you've got some sort of added element there with the OF. But then the dark web is sort of the same, where you're going there to sort of enhance the stimulus, because you've sort of fried your dopamine receptors so hard that nothing really gets you off anymore. So then you're going to these more and more extreme things. And I don't really think that, like, would you actually debate that is the case, that people end up in these dark web places because they started out just watching regular P?
I think a small percentage of people do. As far as I know, the majority of people that go to dark web is for drugs, to buy drugs or stuff.
But in terms of the people who are watching CP and who are watching all these sorts of things, like, and also, by the way, dude, like, in terms of slavery itself, like a lot of the, like, when you're watching P, you don't actually know what you're watching.
Yeah.
So it investigates legalized P, prostitution, you just have to say, on human trafficking inflows into high income countries. So countries with legalized prostitution are associated with higher human trafficking flows. So criminalization of prostitution in Sweden resulted in shrinking of the prostitution market and the decline of human inflows. Cross-country comparisons of Sweden with Denmark, where prostitution is decriminalized, and Germany expanded legalization of the prostitution, are consistent with the quantitative analysis showing that traffic inflows decreased with criminalization and increased with legalization. And then it says democracies have a higher probability of increased human trafficking inflows than non-democratic countries. There's a 13.4% higher probability of receiving higher inflows in a democratic country than otherwise. So in these democratic countries where they go by the libertarian principles that you're espousing, which is basically, this sort of freedom over everything, they actually have a much higher rate.
It's not freedom over anything. And especially in this case, there seems to be a pretty logical explanation for the correlation.
What's the logical explanation? And by the way, this can be causation as well. I'm being charitable here. I could easily call this causation, because the government's deregulation causes there to be more sex work in the country.
But they both
you know what I'm saying though. It's not very hard to understand.
They both use the word P, so they're linked. Just because they use the same word doesn't mean they're linked.
The brain can completely rewire itself. Habit formation, if they use it regularly, they'll use it due to stress, due to boredom, negative emotions, undermining self-control, compulsive patterns, and then they'll develop a certain tolerance to it. And I think that this is just logical, that you develop a certain tolerance to P, and then you want to view more and more and more extreme things. And especially if you are somebody who doesn't have much access to females, especially if you are somebody who, when you're young as well, this is another thing, like, you don't really have much behavior regulation. You're not really thinking about what's going to be the effect of this on your future self. So with that lack of sort of inhibition, young people will just sort of dive headfirst into this. And by the time you're 20 or 21, your whole entire view of sex and of women and of relationships is completely and utterly warped. What was that?
The threesome thing, I think.
why would having a threesome be immoral for someone who doesn't believe in God?
Well, for you, according to your worldview, it's not. But for me, I would say that it's objectively immoral.
So it's relative then. If it's according to my worldview, it's moral, and according to your worldview, it's not moral.
Well, I would say that it is objectively immoral, but for you, according to your own worldview, it wouldn't be
immoral only if you believe in religion.
No, because it is objectively immoral. Yes.
How is it objectively immoral if you don't believe in God?
Well, because I believe that morality is objective and it's not subjective. But if you're asking about how you think, though, that would be different. But if you're asking how I think,
objective means that it's a truth, right? It's just a universal truth. It's not based on opinion. It's not based on your preferences, right? So how would it be objectively immoral if you don't believe in God? Like, doesn't it hinge on the belief that you follow Christian ethics?
It's the same.
Screw's got in my eye. I'm tired. Mom.
But there are a lot of other different factors within P that we've been sort of going through today.
Well, I don't. You'd have to show me some evidence of that. But yeah, alcohol. Like,
hold on a second.
Let me just finish this point.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the biggest factor is that if you're causing harm to other people, can we just agree on the fact that
we will get to that?
Typically leads to people becoming more violent. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I can agree on that. But also, if we're gonna, you have to be good faith both ways now, and you have to say that. Will you agree that watching P will make people more sexually violent, and make people lose their inhibitions in terms of their sexual decorum?
No, I would. You need to show me some evidence of that. That one is not common sense to me.
Okay, so do you think that somebody who watches a lot of P would be more or less likely to engage in kink type things, and more or less likely to engage in more hardcore activities?
Well, kink has nothing to do with violence, though.
Well, I mean, let's say something that is inherently like a little bit violent.
But if you try to make it illegal, things get a lot worse. As we saw with the prohibition in the 30s, what the intention was good is to make alcohol illegal, but it was undoubtedly a disaster. We saw organized crime becoming bigger than ever. We saw some people dying because the alcohol wasn't created properly and stuff like that. Making things illegal does not lower demand. Case in point being the drug war. We've tried that, with drugs for a very long time, and demand is higher than ever. The best thing you can do is keep it legal and regulated. Otherwise, you're going to have everything go underground. Organized crime is going to skyrocket. There'll be a lot more R-word. There won't be any STDs tests and so on. And this is just arguing from the consequences-based perspective. There's also another perspective, which is like, well, it's a libertarian-based argument, which is like, well, it's your body. It's a victimless crime. Like, you watching P is a victimless crime. Like, no one's being hurt, assuming that it's over 18. Right?
So, I mean, we can go the neurological effects of young people. We can go the lack of pair bonding that this causes, and also just the lack of restraint that young people have. Like, I don't know if when you were younger, Alex, you would have heard of like the 2 girls, 1 cup, and 1 man, 1 jar, and 1 man, 1 man, 1 horse.
By the way, 2 girls, 1 cup is the best way to get people to stop watching.
Well, I mean, that's an argument I'd like to hear. But so you get all of these really dark things that you can see even just on the internet. You could find that sort of stuff pretty easily. Young people don't. Like, young people will just laugh at this. Like 13, 14-year-old boys will say, oh, look at this guy getting rammed by a horse, or, look at this. Tell me if this is TOS, Sarah, or look at this lady doing this 2 girls, 1 cup stuff. And this is bound to...
That was the reaction me and my friends had when we saw 2 girls, 1 cup. We're like, ah! I don't think anyone was like, oh, bro.
But also, on a societal level, there's really not much of an argument that you can make that it's in any way good. Is that music on your end, Sarah?
It's mine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? I was like,
you're like, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we have to just take it one by one. I mean, I guess on the individual level, we'll have to start there. But
can we agree that a guy, like, let's say we take 2 identical twins, one of them becomes addicted to alcohol and he drinks and drives and he kills a bunch of family, versus the other guy gets addicted to P and he just wastes his whole life and he just feels worthless and he sits on the internet and eats off.
Let me give you a better one.
Just before you move on,
it's a false equivalence. It's a false equivalence.
I'm not making equivalence. I'm just asking which one do you think is worse?
You have to be fair though with it. Okay, so one guy drinks and drives, ruins his life, kills himself. Yeah, that's your first one.
No, other people.
Okay, cool. Other people. Second guy, he gets addicted to P, and he goes on to get addicted to CP, and then he goes on to become a predator, and he kills multiple kids. We'll say that.
See, I would say that's a false analogy because the drinking and driving is significantly more common than someone becoming a CP predator.
Yeah, so I'll give you that. But if you're on just mainstream P and you're just watching what's out there in the ether, like if you're a guy who's watched regular P, then and you've just done it over a number of years, there is a very, very, very good chance that you have on many different occasions, like masturbated to someone who's a sex or masturbated to children, and you don't know about it.
I don't think you masturbate to children and not know about it.
If the girl like looked, like they said it's older, but she looked like, do you know what I mean? Like if somebody's
you're searching like, well,
it could be under 18.
I've interviewed a lot of P stars, and from what I understand is that when you're going to shoot Ps, that you have to provide ID, you have to do an STD test. There's like a whole process. Like there's
but like the dodgy sort of like ones that are where they're doing all of the CP and we're doing all the and everything.